You already know something is off. Not on the surface, everything looks fine from the outside. You show up, you scroll, you talk, you laugh at the right moments. But underneath, there's this quiet tension you can't shake. Like you're meant for something more, but you can't seem to move toward it. Like your life is on pause, and no matter how hard you try, you keep hitting the same invisible wall. And what's worse, you can't even explain why. You tell yourself you'll start tomorrow. You tell yourself you just need the right motivation, the right mood, the right moment. But tomorrow keeps repeating itself. And deep down, you're starting to wonder if this is just who you are now, someone who thinks a lot, but doesn't move. You're not lazy. That's the lie that's been quietly poisoning you. You're overwhelmed. Your mind is constantly running simulations. What if this fails? What if people judge you? What if you're not good enough? What if you start and can't finish? Every possibility plays out before you even take the first step, and by the time you're done thinking, you're exhausted. So you escape. You reach for your phone. You distract yourself. You tell yourself you'll just take a short break, but that short break turns into hours, and those hours turn into days, and suddenly you're stuck in a loop that feels impossible to break. And here's the part that hits the hardest. You know exactly what you should be doing. You know the habits you need. You know the goals you've been avoiding. You know the version of yourself that you keep postponing. But knowledge hasn't changed anything, has it? Because this isn't a knowledge problem. It's a psychological trap. Your brain is wired to protect you, not to grow you. It wants safety, certainty, comfort. And every time you try to step into something unknown, it sends signals to pull you back. Doubt, fear, procrastination. Not because you're weak, but because you're human. So you start associating effort with discomfort. You sit down to work, and suddenly everything feels heavy. Your focus disappears. Your energy drops. Your mind looks for an exit. And before you know it, you've convinced yourself that you're just not in the mood. But it's deeper than that. You've trained your brain to avoid the very things that could change your life. Every time you choose comfort over action, you reinforce the idea that discomfort is dangerous. Every time you delay, you strengthen the habit of staying stuck. And over time, this becomes your default setting. That's why it feels so hard to break out, not because you can't, but because you've practiced not doing it for so long. And then comes the guilt. That quiet voice at night reminding you of everything you didn't do, every opportunity you let pass, every promise you made to yourself and broke. It builds up slowly, layer by layer, until it turns into something heavier. Doubt. Not just in what you're doing, but in who you are. You start questioning your discipline, your potential, your future. You look at other people moving forward and wonder what they have that you don't. But the truth you've been avoiding is they don't have something you don't. They just stopped negotiating with themselves. While you've been waiting to feel ready, they've been moving while feeling uncertain. While you've been overthinking every step, they've been learning through action. And while you've been trying to eliminate fear, they've been walking straight through it. And that's the shift you haven't made yet. You're trying to feel confident before you act, but confidence doesn't come before action. It comes because of it. Right now, you're stuck in a cycle where your emotions control your behavior. If you feel motivated, you act. If you don't, you wait. And that cycle is quietly stealing your life, one day at a time. Because motivation is unreliable. It's temporary. It fades. It depends on mood, energy, environment. And if that's what you're waiting for, you'll be waiting forever. What you actually need isn't more motivation. It's a different relationship with discomfort. Because the life you want, it exists on the other side of the things you keep avoiding. The hard conversations, the early mornings, the disciplined routines, the uncomfortable growth. That's where everything changes. But right now, you're still standing at the edge, convincing yourself you'll jump when the time feels right. And that time? It never comes. So the question isn't whether you're capable. The question is, how much longer are you going to wait?
Because right now, your life is being shaped by what you avoid, not by what you want. Every time you hesitate, every time you scroll instead of start, every time you choose comfort over growth, you're casting a vote for the version of you that stays stuck. And that version is getting stronger. But here's the shift you've been missing. You don't break this cycle with a massive, life-changing decision. You break it with a moment. A small, quiet, almost invisible moment where you do something different. Not when you feel ready, not when it's convenient, but right when your mind tells you not to. That's where the power is. Because the real battle isn't out there. It's happening inside you, in milliseconds. It's the split second where you either follow your habitual pattern or interrupt it. That's the moment that defines everything. Right now, your brain is used to you giving in. It expects you to delay, to hesitate, to negotiate. So when you suddenly act, when you move without overthinking, when you start without waiting, you create friction. It feels uncomfortable, forced, even wrong. But that discomfort, that's not a sign you're failing. That's a sign you're breaking the pattern. You've spent so much time trying to eliminate discomfort that you forgot something critical. Discomfort is the doorway. It's the signal that you're stepping outside the version of you that's been holding you back. And yes, it's going to feel unnatural at first. Waking up early when you're used to snoozing will feel like punishment. Sitting down to focus when you're addicted to distraction will feel unbearable. Staying consistent when you're used to quitting will feel exhausting. But that's exactly why it works, because you're not just changing your actions, you're rewiring your identity. Every time you follow through, even when it's hard, you send a message to yourself. You are someone who does what needs to be done, not someone who waits, not someone who hopes, someone who executes. And that identity shift, that's everything. Because once you start seeing yourself differently, your behavior begins to align with it. Discipline stops feeling like a struggle and starts feeling like who you are. Action stops feeling forced and starts feeling automatic. But it begins with a decision most people avoid. The decision to stop negotiating with your excuses. Not tomorrow, not later today, right now. Because you already know what your excuses sound like. You've heard them 1,000 times. You're tired. You'll do it later. You need to plan more. Just one more break. They sound reasonable, logical even, but they're costing you your life. Every day you listen to them, you drift further away from the person you know you could become. And the gap between where you are and where you want to be, it doesn't stay the same. It widens. Until one day, you look back and realize you didn't lose because you weren't capable. You lost because you kept waiting. And here's the truth that changes everything. You're not stuck because you don't have time. You're stuck because you're not using the moments you already have. You don't need a new plan. You don't need a perfect routine. You don't need another video, another strategy, another burst of motivation. You need to move, even if it's messy, even if it's small, even if it's imperfect. Because action creates clarity, not the other way around. Right now, there's something you've been avoiding. You know exactly what it is. And the longer you wait, the heavier it becomes, the harder it feels, the more power it has over you. So take it back. Break the cycle. Do the thing before your mind talks you out of it. Not because you feel like it, but because you decided you're done being controlled by how you feel. This is the moment most people let slip. Don't. Because the version of you you keep thinking about, the one who's focused, disciplined, consistent, confident, that version isn't built in the future. It's built right here, in this decision, in this action, in this moment where you stop waiting and finally start.